Hello, I'm Norm Daniels from Paxton Presbyterian Church, and today we're going to talk about Paxton Church and the issue of slavery. So, in 1780, Pennsylvania passed the Gradual Abolition of Slavery Act. It was the first colony that did that. But as it was a political document, it was a compromise, so it allowed for gradual emancipation of enslaved people. Whereas in Massachusetts, when they passed the abolition of slavery, boom, it was done. But this one was a little more gradual. So to give you an idea, between 1780 and 1825, there were 97 slave owners in Dauphin County and 197 slaves, because this were near the Mason-Dixon line, and so this was sort of a transitional zone. By 1840, 99.87% of the slave population in the state of Pennsylvania was free, 47,854 were free, and 64 remained enslaved people. There are 4 slaves or former slaves in our churchyard that we know of. The 4 are buried in this area right in here that was set aside in 1865 for, quote, a burial ground of all strangers dying in the employment of members or contributors. So the people that we have here, first of all, we have the Lorette family. Lucy Lorette. Lucy was the enslaved person of James Crouch, and she lived on Walnut Hill Farm. Those in this area might know the Walnut Hill Farm because it's where the Star Barn was. And that farm in 1780, when the Act of 1780 was passed and they had to do a registration, that farm had 11 slaves, ranging from 9 months to 60 years old. Lucy was 30 years old when the registration was started, and born approximately 1747, and died approximately 1847. So she was possibly 100 years old when she passed. She was the mother of George Lorette here. And George was born in approximately 1773. The dates are not exactly known. And he died in 1862 during the Civil War. And he was the son of Lucy. And he also was on the Walnut Hill Farm where the Star Barn was. He was 7 when the registration started. And he was one of the first blacks to own property. He was called King George, and he also lived on what was called Black George's Farm, which today is about a mile north of Hummelstown. The land was later sold to a Jacob Eversole, and when the land was sold, the bodies were moved here. Beside him, we have Dinah Jones. And Dinah, we believe, was related to them. She was a slave of Mary Crouch, and while she could have been freed on her 28th birthday, based on the Act of 1780, she stayed with the family and was put on the payroll as a paid worker. And she worked as a cook and took care of the children. She's known as being a jolly, friendly person, was much beloved by many people in the community, and it said her funeral was the most heavily attended funeral in memory. She was 62 years as a free woman, but yet her full name is not on the stone. So it just says Dinah. Now I don't know if that's a legacy of slavery or if there was another reason. It's also thought the Cowden family paid for this gravestone for her. The final stone, you may notice, has the military mark of Civil War. And this stone we have George Washington. George Washington was born somewhere in the area of 1840. He died around 1898. He lived in Georgia during the Civil War, and during Sherman's march to the sea, he joined up with the troopers there. He joined up with the 9th Pennsylvania Cavalry, not as a trooper, but they called them contraband, who would travel with them, and they do work for the people and cook and so forth, but as long as they were with the Union Army, they were free. And so he stayed with the 9th Pennsylvania Cavalry all the way to the end of the Civil War, and when they came up here to be discharged, he came with them. And so he is here today. Very often I will see stones and even candles around his grave that people were paying homage to him. And so here we have two. Often there's a lot. Now around us, there are regular just stones, and they're in the ground laying here, and I know that was sometimes used to mark people who were enslaved. But I don't know if these are actual grave sites or not, but until I know one way or the other, I'll leave them where they are. So, as we look at these people that were accepted in our church and made members in our church and worshiped at Paxton Church, and they joined the community of the dead here at Paxton Church, we know that the ugly stain of slavery was eliminated with the loss of thousands of barrels full of blood during the Civil War. And today we continue to deal with its ramifications. But we will continue on. God bless you. If you wish to come to our church, we are open at 9 o'clock, or summer hours are 9 o'clock every Sunday. You can also go on our Facebook website and you can see live streaming at that time. We also have prayer in the woods at 6 p.m. on Sunday. And you're welcome to come to there. God bless you. Have a good day.